All right. Good Sunday afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad to be here with you today. And I thought this would be a fun conversation. I assume that it will be. And my friend Clody already has her hand up. So, Clody, how are you, my sister?
Are you giving me the right to speak as soon as I start?
Yeah, I'm ready. I don't
Hi.
even need to say anything. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the class. And I really enjoyed it today. Really, really, really. I was like, okay, I'm starting to, things are starting to click, Ross.
All right. I agree.
Okay, because it wasn't that easy for me to go back to whatever we used to know, or to the ways that we used to study and delve. So this is new. I have a question.
Okay.
Um, I love how you say that Jesus pinpointed to Moses,
Mm-hmm.
but Jesus knew a little bit more than we know. That's at least understated. And he did discern true from false. He did discern right from wrong.
Yeah.
Now I have a question for you.
All right.
How, where, how did he discern? What made him so smart, to say the least? And what made him a superhuman to understand a little bit more than the median person back then? And why do we still have, even though at least for our group, we don't think that he is the most of us don't think that he is the Son of God or the God incarnated, we still keep him on a high standard, and we do quote him as if he knew what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Where did Jesus got the authority? Was he a Messiah? Was he a prophet? Was he a seer? Because in Tanakh, we see what people say for themselves, or at least what others say for that guy, like for Isaiah, for Jeremiah.
Yeah.
We understand that these were saints, people that were according to God's heart, prophets or seers. What do you think about Jesus?
I tell you what, um, my position, like many people, has gone from one extreme to another very frequently. I mean, especially lately. And let me start by saying we know all the options, right? So you could say some people say that he was negative, that God used him to test Israel and he led them astray. And so that's one view. There is a view that's very, very negative. There's another view that's like maybe a step up from that that says, no, it's not negative. He was a good guy. He was a moral teacher. He was ethical. He taught the kingdom of God and he fits right in with a bunch of other rabbis. He's like Akiva. He's like Maimonides. He's whatever. And then you go up a little bit more and you go, well, he was a Messiah figure, meaning this view would be sort of a low Christology. He's not God in the flesh, but he is anointed by God, Isaiah 61, Luke 4, that kind of thing. And so he's got that kind of, God's helping him, right? He's inspired. It's more than he spoke with authority, not like the scribes, right? And then then
Mm-hmm.
you then you go up a little bit more. Now we're getting into Ebionite territory. Now what
Mm-hmm.
I am more and more in this camp. And look, I don't care anymore. I know people that they would say, well, Ross is one woman actually said, I have to interrupt myself, that I have gone back like a dog to my vomit. This woman actually said this to me publicly in Facebook because I used to only believe the Tanakh, and now I'm going back to the New Testament. Well, dog and vomit, all whatever people want to say. I go where the text lead me, and hopefully where the Spirit of God leads me. So I am more now in line with this Ebionite view, and that is they believed that the spirit of the true prophet, similar to maybe what you might read in Deuteronomy 18, where they believed that it hastened through the ages and it inspired various prophets. And these prophets were speaking for God. We get Exodus chapter 4 and Exodus chapter 7, where we get the idea that God's words are placed within this person, and they speak first person for God, right? So they're not God. These prophets are not God.
They want even music a little bit so that the inspiration comes at times.
Yeah, sometimes they like music, get me in the mood for it, whatever. And but then when they speak, it's not their words, but the one who sent them. All right. Now we get this in the Gospels. Now the Ebionite view, which is where I somewhat am, I'm going to leave right here for now. I'm going to come back to it. The next level is miraculous birth, somehow a manifestation, God's literal son, like you could find God's DNA in Jesus. This is me. Look, different people are different places. I see that.
I'm asking for your opinion.
Yeah. So we know that view, which is very, very high Christology. My view is very high now, higher than it's been in 20 years. Isaiah talks about, and whether somebody believes this is Jesus or could be Jesus, whatever, but it talks about the Spirit of God will come upon this person. Some interpret it to be somebody else. And it's in Isaiah 11:1. Let me just go there. And this is the Ebionite view. I like this view. Isaiah 11. Okay. Now, there's a lot more to this. This is a whole class, but just the nutshell of it. I'm going to read the NRSV. A shoot shall come out from the stump of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest on him, Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. His delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. And it goes on. He will not judge by the sight of his eyes or decide by what his ears hear, but with righteousness he will judge the poor, decide with equity the meek of the earth. He shall strike the earth, get this, not with a sword, Clody, with the rod of his mouth, the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. Righteousness shall be the belt around his waist, faithfulness, and so forth. And then people go, oh, well, look, he didn't bring in everlasting peace and the wolf and the lamb and lying together, and, so he can't be Jesus. We're waiting for a guy who really has wolves and lambs laying together in the garden. Well, one of the things that I find interesting, the Ebionite view is that whoever this is Jesus. They believe that they didn't call it the Messiah, by the way, and I don't either, because Messiah is a misnomer. It's people don't understand it, and how many times in the Gospels, I know we get different stories, but are you, just tell us plainly, are you the Messiah? Well, he clearly didn't say, I'm the Messiah. We do have texts later that indicate that.
He says, you are saying that.
Yeah, you say, yeah. So one thing, just to kind of wrap up my current view, which is subject to change without prior notice or approval, or a permission. Like I don't even have anybody I have to answer to really, other than God Himself. But
Thank
I
God.
do think that the Ebionite view is that when it says, and the Spirit of the Lord shall rest on him, what they
Mm-hmm.
meant by that is that's it. Meaning, yes, the spirit of the true prophet went throughout the ages and came upon different prophets, and they spoke first person for the Lord. But when the Spirit hit Jesus, that's it. It didn't go to another person. It is interesting to me that true prophet, I know some people say, well, I have the spirit of prophecy. Right down the street from me, there's a church, and the pastor calls himself an apostle and a prophet. That's between him and God. I'm not going to say. I don't have to answer for what he says. But I think that this prophet, the prophet, if you will, culminated in Jesus of Nazareth. And some might say, well, he didn't bring in everlasting peace and so forth. Yeah, well, neither did anybody else yet. So the jury, as we say, is still out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Jesus is God, but there is this. I think the technical term, maybe OV or others who've studied this kind of stuff, I see him. I know he digs into this. Might be called the adoptionist view, and that is this: that he's not born into this. Like as a kid, I'm not saying he got in trouble, like his parents are looking for him, like, hey, where's Jesus? I'm paraphrasing. You know how he is. He's always running off. No telling where. Oh, he found him in the temple.
He's in the synagogue.
He's in the
Yeah,
synagogue again or whatever. But
yeah.
um, but when he goes into that water
Mm-hmm.
and when he comes out, the Ebionites made a huge deal of this, and I think they're right, that he comes out of the water and there is a mission. Whether he hears it, other people hear it, it drives him to bring about a eschatological beginning of something. Now, what is that something? I think that what began in the days of Jesus, because of his teaching, after he comes out of the water, is a mission, part of which is to bring back the lost tribes of the house of Israel. I know people are saying, is this really Ross or did somebody take over? I do think that begins something really remarkable, and it forever changed the world. Is that enough? Is that a good enough answer?
That is to be continued. No, actually, what I would want to comment on this is that when we open a dark mountain, just to open a route or a road
Mm-hmm.
inside the mountain, a tunnel,
Yeah.
I'm sure that if we see a crack of light, we now know where to go.
Yeah.
So in that, if we use this as a metaphor,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that that's what Jesus did. He gave us the crack.
Yeah.
Now we hit on that point until we go on the other side.
Yeah. He got us started, you're saying.
I mean, yeah, he gave the first crack, and that's how the light gets in, would the Cohen Leonard say.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that saying. So I do believe and I do see what you see.
Yeah.
However, I'm a little bit I'm stopped or paused
Yep.
or intricate, I don't know the word. I'm curious
Yep.
on how the Ebionites or Jesus were understanding truth. What was their source? Was there the direct inspiration from God, God's Ruach Elohim? Or was it because they knew a little bit more? They were 2,000 years earlier than us, and they had some other sources, and they understood a little bit more on what is right and what is wrong according to the station that they were in,
Well,
like historically.
well, could they have had other texts? Yeah, I think you're onto something. They very well could have. I'm sending somebody a note that's trying to get in the Zoom. Um, but I tell you, you used a word that is very important, and it's often not considered, and that is discernment. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you, like you and I can have discernment, I think. And then if you take that up a level, let's say that we had the Spirit of God so heavily on us, which you might, I probably don't, but I could, where I could hear,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
Isaiah says, a voice behind me saying, "This is the way, walk in it." Now, look, here's what's interesting about these prophets. And again, we have a Bible which is full of edits. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
our whole task, my whole task now is to discern the earliest strata. What did it say like in the beginning it wasn't so. Like there are things that weren't,
Yep.
I want to know what that was. I want to know that. Now, what I'm not claiming is I don't claim to have the discernment and the Spirit on me like Jesus or like Jeremiah or whatever.
Prophet.
But I can pray as a student, Lord, help me. God, show me. Let me help me pay attention, like it says in Psalm 119:18. In Hebrew, it's Gal enai va'avita niflaot mitorateka. Open my eyes, and I will look for wonderful things in your Torah. But in the process of that, I
Mm-hmm.
read some things which many of the critics of the Torah and the Tanakh will bring up. Why does God say, go into this place and utterly kill man, woman, and child? If you suspect your wife of adultery, make her drink dirt off the floor in the tabernacle. And, if her belly
Yeah.
explodes, you know,
She betrayed you.
yeah. Now, but what I really see though is I went through the verses I went through this morning on purpose, like all of those on purpose, because they say that it really comes down if Jesus only has the opportunity to teach the world two things. Like boil it down for me, Jesus. And he says, well, there's one God, and he is one, there is no other, and you should love that God and love your neighbor as you love yourself. What would happen? I mean, like people could say, well, what about this? What about the diet? What about circumcision? What about the festivals? What about? But what about if we just had that as a standard to love God and love our neighbor? If we love our neighbor, we're not going to steal his stuff or her stuff. We're not going to take their mate. My God,
No harm done.
no harm done. And you know what? It's so funny that people want more and they haven't even mastered that yet. Really, I think about it all the time. We see things in the news where a certain person leaves his wife and his kids. And look, I know divorce happens. Nobody be offended by this. But seriously, the difficulties that arise because, and I'm just going to use the man cheats and takes someone else's woman. If the world for one day, or if my town or my county or I don't have counties, I have parishes, we're French, but our state, our nation, our world would say, you know what? We're not going to do that. Or Tabor often talks about when he was a kid, a young boy going to Bible college. He went to Armstrong that was
Mm-hmm.
where he was going at the time. And he says they left their doors open at night because he said they couldn't imagine that anybody would steal because they're all there as young, idealistic lovers of God and his ways. So you don't have to put up a sign that says don't steal. You're not going to steal. You're not going to take somebody's girlfriend. That's horrific. But I do think, and I know a lot of people don't agree with me. I hear about it, weekly through emails and Facebook comments and YouTube comments, as if that's going to make me cry at night. But I'm on a quest. I want to do what I can do to get back to what did Moses write? What did Jeremiah write? And I see that between Moses and Jeremiah, there is a link. And I'm working right now on what is called the Deuteronomistic history. And I'm gonna go to OV in a minute after I give you another opportunity, Clody. I'm on a soapbox.
I'm all ready for OV.
I like the.
I'm gonna come back if I because this was a little bit deeper than my actual waters. So I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna really think about it, and because I know I'm pushing through someplace.
Yeah.
I really need the authority of Jesus, Ross. That's what I'm saying.
I hear you.
I need his authority. I understand that it's. So you started a quest on what Jesus really was saying that aims to Moses and to God.
Yeah.
I understand that. Now, what is his authority?
Yeah.
Why should I listen to whatever he said?
Yeah.
I do inside of me, I do know that he is a crack. I do know that. Because I do believe that once you love your neighbor and you love your existence or the existence, life,
yeah,
you do love God and you do love yourself and your neighbor, you won't harm.
Right.
In the mountain of God, ever.
Right.
So I know that inside of me. But let's say, factually, I would want a little bit more so that I can give authority to this guy.
Yeah. I hear you. No, I love the way you're pushing, and I think that's where we all find ourselves. Maybe not everybody, but some people have already, they threw the baby out with the bathwater, been there, done that. They have their Jesus is Lord t-shirt, and they're done with that. But what I would say now is there really is something about Jesus, Yeshua, that does strike me and many, many countless millions others that he did have a special connection, and he sought to bring the kingdom of God here. Like, it wasn't an escape to go to a kingdom when we die. It was to bring it here, to put it on the inside. And so I think we see him peeling away the layers. I can get my head around a lot of difficult concepts, but that doesn't save my soul, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how many languages we learn in biblical Hebrew and biblical Greek. It's what's on the inside, and I think that is revolutionary. And I think if we really could grasp it, I love the idea now about the kingdom of God and what is that kingdom and what does it really mean to be part of that kingdom? You think about it, Clody, and jump back in if you get more insight as we talk, because I like where you're going. I like that you kicked it off like that. I was happy to see your hand up.
Thank you.
All right, hang around.
Yep.
Brother OV.
Yeah, just a few points here on the adoptionist thing, and I'm not an expert, but it came first. And then after it became doceticism, which was the thing that he was all God and no human.
Yeah.
And the big argument between the two, and it's like moving the bug around in a theological problem. It's like it works if you have it this way on one case, but then
Yeah.
this side breaks, and if you switch it the other way, then the other side breaks. And they're trying to make a logical um, defense for substitutionary atonement
Yeah.
in all the theology. And it wasn't until they came up with the trilogy and made it so damn confusing that nobody could understand it that they solved that problem. And I don't understand it either. I think you have to like get right into all the ecumenical councils,
Yeah.
but I don't think you're going to find it in the Gospels.
And
And
I don't think, let me ask you this, because I follow what you're saying, and we've read some of the same material, obviously. It feels to me like these later lofty logical attempts to define theological terms and phrases and ideas would not have been something that Jesus would be getting into. Like if you ask him these questions that were posed by the later councils, he would say, guys, you're making this too hard. Listen to me, and I think he would try to break it down. We tend to, I know when you talk about, say, the Trinity and the views, how this came to be accepted in the councils. Uh, these are attempts to explain something that is maybe inexplicable, or certainly it was never intended, or it was never lined out in the text that we have. They kind of create some of these ideas. Would you agree, or have I taken that a little bit further?
no, I agree with that. Theology is an ideology, and I think we're moving into the pre-Senate. Thing to keep in mind is that Jesus was a prophet and dealt with imagination and alternatives uh, to the empire model, right? And I think that's the heart of it. I got to do a lot more research before I can
Yeah.
convince anybody of that, but
Yeah.
that's where I'm going.
Well, I think this is, for me, this is really fun to get into, and I'm very textually based. I like sources. I don't like to. I mean, I do like early sources, and I don't discount later sources. As a historian, I have to trust that, number one, earlier is not always better. I've learned that through time, because there could be earlier texts that we don't have any longer, that, like when we look at something like the birth or the emergence of the Ebionites in our literature, it is third, fourth century, right? But it's looking back and referring back to earlier times. Just like I'm not going to say that the Talmudic system, that the Talmud is fifth, sixth century, when we can tell that some of this is written down but has a much earlier starting point. So, but I want to look at these sources. I want to continue where I'm actually directing my personal study. My passion is the Pentateuch and how that came, how the composition of the Pentateuch happened. What was the earliest strata? Could we? Now, I know some people say, well, Moses never existed. But what I want to do is I want to start with, from our sources, what can we determine with any degree of certainty is the earliest strata and what comes later. And there's some good evidence for that. Just like I'm working on the Deuteronomist, and this idea that from Deuteronomy, actually from Joshua through Second Kings, that body of literature was edited probably twice by a single editor or a school of editors, and then was updated later to reflect, when the kingdom of Judah was destroyed, and you had to have an answer to it. So that's what I'm into now. I could pan my camera and show you my desk right now, but I have in front of me, this is just some of the stuff I'm working on: Moses and the Deuteronomist, David and the Deuteronomist, Samuel and the Deuteronomist. It's all about the Deuteronomist that I'm looking into now, and it's trying to get back at these original ideas. The Gospels fascinate me in the same sense because you're looking for what we call an gospel. You know, what's the earliest strata of the gospel and what comes later? Can we tell? I think we can. It's a fun game, but it's a game of, in some people's mind, life or death for eternity, right? So you got to get this right. That's the way I believe.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
I think a lot of that stuff on early Christianity is going to be a good foundation. Dr. Kaber's course launches tomorrow on Christianity before Paul.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in his Zooms I'll have lots of chance to ask questions and find more.
Let me give you some late breaking. Now, nobody knows this, but this group, the actual course by James, I talked to him this morning. He has some stuff that he's pulling together that he wants to make to enrich that course. And I think, so, I don't know if I'm supposed to tell this, but hey, this is what he gets because he's not here right now. So the 12th is actually going to be the kickoff for that course. And I am going to really recommend it to people. If, like OV you're obviously signed up for it already. This Christianity before Paul, it's probably going to be the best thing out there in terms of the Ebionites, the Nazarenes, all the things that I just touched today. He's going to fully explore these texts. So I would recommend that.
Yeah, I'm not enrolled yet because I don't think it's up, but I read his blog post this morning.
Yeah.
He's on Patreon as well. Just let both of you side by side there.
Yep.
And he's going to have 6 Zooms. So it's going to go on for 6 months after the recorded lectures.
Good deal. Yeah, I'll definitely post a link to that on my social media channels for people who are interested in that. The guy knows his stuff in this field. It's certainly not my primary field, but I follow along pretty closely. So Good stuff. Thank you, OV. I appreciate you, man. All right. Karen Clark, how are you, my friend?
Good.
Good to see you. What's going on?
Oh, I just had a few comments. I actually was listening to some stuff on Matthew 23 earlier, and I look when I'm trying to find the truth. Who really said what. I look a lot at things like in a court of law. Let's say there's an attorney for Jesus and an attorney for the biblical authors and the theologians. And when testimony is given, it's mostly hearsay. It's second, third, fourth, fifth hand information.
Uh-huh.
And they don't cite their sources for the most part. We don't know where they're getting these testimonies. So it is kind of hard to figure out what's true or not. It really has to make sense. And so I kind of look at it like that. But I think Matthew 23, he talks about do what Moses says, like you mentioned, and don't do what these people are doing.
Yeah.
They're not cleaning the inside of the cup.
Yeah.
If you clean the inside of the cup, then it's going to reflect on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're not necessarily looking to be clean on the inside. They want elevation.
Mm.
They wear longer tassels and they let their phylacteries dangle and they exhaust their resources trying to proselytize and get converts.
Yeah.
But when they do finally get a convert, they just burden him with unnecessary laws and weird things like, you can swear, if you swear by the temple, you don't have to keep that oath. But if you swear by the gold in the temple,
Right.
well, then you do have to keep that oath. And Jesus is saying, what is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
Why would you even say that?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see where, he's definitely getting a following, because I'm sure that he wasn't the only one saying this.
Right.
And then what else would I say? And then I went back and listened to caught up on your other classes, and you had one where you talk about the Jesus haters.
Yeah.
And that's when you're going down this path and you realize, the entire Bible isn't the inspired word of God. I really have to find the truth. It's
Mhm.
easy to get sucked into that group.
Yeah.
And they'll post videos like, oh, this, learn what the Canaanites really thought. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
this Dr. So-and-so, and he's talking about Canaanites. That's biblical. I'm interested. And then you click on that and you listen, and it's like maybe 15 minutes he discusses the Canaanites, and for 2 hours he's just talking crap about everything.
Yeah.
And I might have been considered a Jesus hater for a minute.
Yeah.
But then I had to really think about, is everything that's being said about him true?
Right.
These people weren't there. They didn't know the man.
Mhm.
Even most of the writers of the biblical text, and they never met him. So, I mean, they're taking testimony from people they say knew him. And I'm not saying that all hearsay isn't correct. I mean, there can be truth in that. So I'm still going to read it and still try to discern what is right and what is wrong. But yeah, I'd say definitely be careful with the Jesus haters. And it took me a little bit, to have a little compassion, like, hey, I doubt he really meant to be portrayed like this.
Yeah.
There's other people giving false testimony, saying things about him when they didn't even know him. So.
Yeah, I think I called that group the He-Man Jesus Haters Club.
Yeah.
Spin off of the old He-Man Woman Haters Club. And I get a kick out of now, because I am leaning towards this Ebionite view. And they use a phrase that one of the things that is done away with, I just drew up 2 of them today, sacrifices and the monarchy, but they talk about female prophecies also go away. And so I'm really digging into that right now, but it's like you get this idea, and these different groups can be really mean to each other. And I'm naturally not like that. If you believe something, you go believe it. I don't care. I'm not, whatever. But I'm growing more and more weary, maybe with age and hopefully wisdom, of these hateful ones, and so I think now there's so many questions that are still on the table for me that I want to know. It's like these groups, their opponents, like the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'll come back to the female prophecies in another class. I just kind of flagged that off. But, like the Dead Sea Scrolls talk about this, they say they're the seekers after smooth things, and I see a lot of religious people as seekers after smooth things. It's so much easier to just give me a package deal. Just tell me what to believe.
Yeah, tell me what to believe.
This is hard. This is hard work. I mean, I grew up in a Baptist church, and they would always say, hey, look, this is simple enough that a child can understand. And you're like, don't give me that. Now, here is what you should do with a child is say, hey, listen, little Johnny, little Susie, don't do this and don't do this. This is bad. Oh, but do this and do this, because these things are good and wholesome and righteous. But they're not going to understand the deep arguments and discussions. I don't tell my grandchildren that I'm reading about the Deuteronomist. I'm not going to tell them that. It would bore them to tears. But we have to be informed about the things that matter. Like, what was it that Jesus actually believed and said and preached and lived and died for? And I think if we can ever put our hands around that, we'll probably agree on more things than we disagree on, and the world will be better for it.
Yeah. Most people don't want to do the work, and they don't care.
That's right.
You know, I'm still in that scene, kind of looking from the outside, but I have friends who are pastors,
Yeah.
and one of my Facebook friends who's a pastor locally, he posted, just a question to the congregation on the church website, on the church Facebook page. Would you guys benefit from me posting my sermon notes on here? Would you download those, and would that be useful to you? And a lot of the comments were like, "Oh, don't worry about it, Pastor. We just want to just go where the Spirit leads.
Yeah.
We just want to feel the Spirit." I'm like, "You're just going for a show.
Yeah.
You don't care what the Bible says at all."
That's right.
And that's, to me, that's a lot. That's the attitude that I get, or that's the feeling I get from a lot of people today. They don't want to hear. They don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like people don't want to necessarily know the truth. They want to know that what they already believe is the truth.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier. Just tell me I'm right and move on.
Yeah. So, anyhow.
Good stuff. Hey, good to see you, Karen. Thanks for joining us. That's right. Hang around. You may have something else. We're going to tell our YouTube audience, have a beautiful Sunday. We'll see you next week. If you are part of the Yachad, you need to go ahead and jump on the Zoom with us. If you're part of the Yachad and you say, "Oh, I don't know where that is," email me at rossnicholsshow@gmail.com, and I'll get you that Zoom link.